Hello, hello, and welcome again to Hair Best Thoughts Podcast. Please bear with us as we were having some technical difficulties, but we are up and running now, and we are ready to go. So come on in, come on in, come on in, and join the show. All right, come on in and join the show. Just gonna tag some folks if I can spell. All right, just give it just a moment to let people come in. Tonight's not my best night anyway, but it's gonna be my best night. So tonight episode is acknowledging the wound, formatted for print. Acknowledging the wound, acknowledging the wound, and I'm gonna be formatting this for print soon. But this episode is gonna focus on identifying toxic patterns, admitting emotional pain, and breaking denial. So again, come on in the room and let me see if I can just tag a few folks. Let's see. I can tag a few folks. For some reason, it won't let me tag it on all of them. I have to do it over here on the computer. Yes. This episode will go on. Okay. Because I could not hear anything. And I pray that you all can hear me now. And I will just tag a few people here. All right. Let's see here. Tagging a few more people here. And let's see. Tagging a few people. And then I will get started. I hope everyone is doing all right today. All right, that's enough tag. One more tag, I guess I would say. Let's see. There we go. All right, there's enough tagging for now. So, again, I see you have 9 people on here, so go ahead and say hey. 10 people, go ahead and say hey. Thank y'all so much for joining in. I had to switch to my phone. I was having some computer difficulties, so please let me know if you are having any issues. If you cannot hear me, please let me know right away. But tonight's episode is part of my healing series. And this is episode 1. It's called Acknowledging the Wound. You can see what's okay. Thank you. Have a great day. Bless you. And let's see here. All right. So we will get started here. What I just want to talk about one thing I want to talk about is what toxic relationships look like. What toxic relationships look like. Okay, toxic relationships look like. Toxicity can often appear as intensity, over dependence, or control disguised as care. That's a big one. I talked about that on a video that I made the other day where it can feel like love, like you think it's love. They're nice, sweet, kind, and things like that. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate you saying that you can hear me. It can make you feel like, hey, thank you so much for joining CJ Jones. It can make you feel like, oh, they just love me so much. They just care about me. That's why they're doing all these things. But no, that's not love. That's yes, girl, you gotta activate. Eventually it will, yes, ma'am, it sure will. We're starting a series, so yes, it will end up with the book in hand. Thank you so much for asking. But like I said, this is our healing series, and this episode is episode one of this series is called Acknowledging the Wound. So again, what toxic relationships look like is often appearing, very it's like an over dependence toward you. They controlling you, things like that. Today, this one, and so they can, it's they're very controlling. That's it's like it makes you feel like they just overly care and just love you, but no, that's it's just a disguise. And some of the common signs I wanted to talk to you all about tonight is thank you so much for liking the live, you guys. Some common signs are you feel emotionally drained, you're anxious, or you may even feel invisible. Like it seems like they're showering, they're controlling you, but they're still not paying you any attention. And I sure can do that for you. Just give me 1 second, ma'am. Just give me 1 second. I'll definitely give you some examples. 'Cause I was sharing about the video that I made the other day about this, but I will read a bit for you from our my chapter 11 is called Twister Surveillance. And that one is, let me see what section, because I'm not going to read the whole chapter. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to read a part of it. Okay. By now, he had ordered some cameras to keep an eye on the apartment after the break in. He said he wanted to protect our home. I thought that seemed fine because I was there at night alone, and Felton was always locked in his kennel. That's the dog. So he enlisted Blue to install them, and I saw one in the dining room facing the kennel and one under the TV facing the door. I didn't have any control of the cameras. I had no access to the recordings, and Nell connected everything to his phone. And I'll stop right there because I wanted to reiterate that topic about being watched, being under surveillance, because the cameras were supposed to be told they were supposed to be to protect me, right? To watch out for me, make sure nobody comes in our home and things of that nature. But it turned out to be I could be on the phone, walking through the house, talking to family, friends, whoever, and I get a text message, who are you talking to? What are you talking about? That's the kind of things that was happening, when people are constantly watching you. They're those toxic behaviors that they're showing. That's not love. That's not love. How you doing, Miss Shirley? Thank you so much for coming in. That is not love at all. And this is from my book, A Rose Wrapped in Thorns. In case anyone has not seen it just yet, go ahead and grab your copy. It's available on Amazon.com or on my website, harabetsthoughts.com. But yes, and so tonight we're gonna, like I said, delve into the toxic relationships. And toxic love often wears a mask, right? Because you don't realize it until you're deep in it. Of course, it might sound like, again, protection. It might feel like intensity. It's like, oh, they just love me so much. Or it even may look like loyalty, like they got my back, they looking out for me, and they may do a few things to make you think that. But underneath that is, again, control, codependency, and fear. All the above, or a mixture of however, it can go. But we need to do is to try to understand the emotional trauma and the people pleasing. That's our next topic. Understanding the emotional trauma and our people pleasing. People pleasing is often rooted in childhood survival mechanisms. So something you went through in your childhood, whether you remember or not, is leading you to be a people pleaser. And trauma can teach you to fawn, to please others, to avoid rejection, conflict or abandonment by, succumbing to whatever someone asks you to do. You don't want to argue, you don't want to fight, you just okay, okay, all right, I will, okay. And that's what trauma can do to you. And these patterns, they kind of feel normal, because it's all you've ever known, right? Your whole life, that's all you've ever known is those patterns. I'm getting my charger, but it's time for you to pause and reflect if you haven't already. And after I got out of this relationship in the rose wrapped in thorns, that's what I had to do. I had to pause and reflect. And in writing the book, that helped me to do that as well. But many of us learned early on that love had conditions, right? If we got good grades, we got this, or we got a hug, or we got whatever from our parents, or if we did well at home, out with company, we were praised for that, those kinds of things. So you learn to work to get praises, excuse me, which is people pleasing. So, but you got to remind that something that we need to remember is that our worth is not dependent on how useful, how agreeable, or how invincible we can be. And that's what that teaches us in a sense, is that we feel like, oh, we got to be overachievers. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do that, to look good in everybody's sight, to please every. No, that's not a healthy way to live your life. That's not a healthy way to live your life. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to chime in. And this will bring me to my topic number 3, the power of honesty in healing. The first step toward freedom is truth, not just about others, but about yourself, me, you. You got to look deep within and get to the root of the problem. And a lot of times it starts with you. No shade or whatever, it is what it is. And then we have denial. Denial sometimes protects you from pain, but it also prolongs it. Like, it's whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen regardless. You can ignore it for a little while, push it under the rug, blow it off or whatever. But it's gonna come to the surface. It's gonna come to the surface, and it's really, the longer it takes, the hard. What they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. The longer it takes, the longer that healing process, is gonna be, from you processing everything. And then I want to say, well, another thing is honesty. You got to be honest with yourself. That helps to bring clarity so that you can understand. And with understanding comes strength, because you build your muscle, your thought process, everything. You become stronger individually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And then there's self compassion. You got to give yourself a little grace. You got to. You got to give yourself a little grace. The Lord gives us grace. His grace is sufficient for all of us. We got to give ourselves a little grace. Yes, I went through all that stuff. Endured that relationship in the rose wrapped in thorns. I could have ran anytime, but I stayed trying to find my way out of it, trying to figure my own way out of it. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Or hopefully this will happen to him, or he'll go to jail, or he'll get this, he'll get that. Instead of me just leaving, I was waiting until the right time. There's no right time ever. The right time is now. The right time is right then. Um, so sometimes you might feel like denial protects you, but remember that the truth was gonna set you free, not denial. The truth will set you free. So tonight's episode, again, we talked about, healing those wounds, right? So I hope this episode has been helpful for you. But I just want to give you a few prompts, to think about as you do your own journaling. And the first journal prompt is, where am I right now? Excuse me, where I am right now. So take a few moments to reflect on your current emotional state and write freely without judgment, because it's your journal, right? Your private journal. And another question that you can use is, How do I really feel today? Ask yourself that. How do you really feel today? And just be honest with yourself. You feel sad, you feel angry, you just feel blah, you don't know how you feel. That's the answer too. Just write down exactly how you feel. And what am I still carrying that's no longer mine to hold? That's a big one. What am I still carrying that's no longer mine to hold? I was talking to someone about that earlier today. Stop holding on to old stuff. Things that happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's gone. It's done. Let it go. Let go of all that old stuff. It's not yours to carry. It's not your burden to carry. It's gone. If someone wronged you all those years ago, let it go. Give it to God. It's not your burden to bear. And then here we have the next prompt is, what truth have I been afraid to admit? And you don't have to admit it here on camera with me or on the live. But again, this is your journal. What truth have I been afraid to admit? So search deep within yourself and think about that thing for a moment and see, what is it that because God sees everything. He knows everything, what you're feeling, your thoughts, all that. So he already knows. So what is it that you're holding back? What truth is it that you're afraid to admit? Again, the truth will set you free. So go ahead and admit that truth and deal with it and process it and free yourself. Like Fantasia said, free yourself, free yourself. And this brings us to our last prompt is, what parts of me are asking to be seen and heard? What parts of me are asking to be seen and heard? Let me know if you got that. And you can even let me know in the replay that you had a chance to do the journal prompts on your own and to, so that you can process things for yourself as well. 'Cause that's what this is all about, is healing, helping each one of us to heal on our journeys. 'Cause we're all on individual journeys. And I'm going to go back over that part of the chapter again for those that may just be tuning in. Okay, so it says here, by now he had ordered some cameras to keep an eye on the apartment after the break in. He said he wanted to protect our home. I thought that seemed fine because I was there at night alone and Felton was always locked in the kennel, and that's the dog. He enlisted Blue to instill them. I saw one in the dining room facing the kennel and one under the TV facing the door. I didn't have any control of the cameras. I had no access to the recordings, and Nell connected everything to his phone. After he went to work one night, he texted me asking why Felton was barking. I said, "How do you know he's barking?" He said, "I can hear it on the camera." I felt even more violated now. One night, I was on the phone and I was telling my mom about an incident when we were in the hotel and he was using drugs. He sent me a text and asked who I was talking to about him having white powder on his nose. I forgot to stop talking when I was heading to the kitchen, and I will stop right there. So, just to let you all know that, yes, I've experienced that, under surveillance. Someone watching you constantly, your every move, timing you to get home from work or to the store, literally by the minute. I've been through that. I've experienced that. And I hope that me sharing this will help someone else, prevent them from going through something like that, or at least help them figure out how to get out of it. And I share my story in A Rose Wrapped in Thorns. This is my testimony of how I went through that and I made it out, survived. And thank you all so much for tuning in with me tonight. I know this is going to be just a short live, but I just want to again thank you all so much for tuning in. And you can get a copy of my book on Amazon.com. It's available on paperback and in Kindle. Or you can go to my website, hairbedsthoughts.com, and you can order an autographed copy there. So again, I just want to thank you all so much for tuning in to our healing series. And I will be doing this preferably every week, every Tuesday night. at 7 p.m. And if 7:30 would be better, let me know. Hey, Sandra, how you doing, sis? Thank you so much for joining in. I came on a little, I won't say impromptu. I had some difficulties today coming in. Something was going on with the computer, so I had to change that. And then I had to do some things for mom. But I still was determined. I said, I'm going to come on here and do what it is that I'm supposed to do, share the message that I'm supposed to share. And I'll just go back into it a little bit. I was talking about this is part of my healing series, and was just talking about acknowledging the wound, and identifying toxic patterns, and admitting emotional pain and breaking denial. But thank you so much for coming in. But I'm gonna go ahead and prepare to end this live, and life duties call, family duties call. But just remember, you all, that your healing is necessary, that you are worth it. You don't have to stay in toxic relationships. Process that, pray about it, ask the Lord to deliver you from those relationships. I'm glad you're doing well. Thank you so much again for coming in. And of course, be sure to watch the replay so you can see the beginning of the episode. But again, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Deborah J with Hairbed's Thoughts, and I will see you all next week. And let me know if 7:30 would be better for you all, or 8 o'clock, and I can possibly move it around a little bit. So just let me know in the comments. And again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.